Welcome back once again here on the Roundtable program. Coming up this Tuesday, hard to believe, already 11 years since the tragic, fateful day, September 11th, 2001. And we're sitting here with Dr. Joanne Sabo and also Lieutenant Matt Hertzfeld discussing this teaching moment that exists year after year and how we really need to keep this fresh for the youth of today. And as we went to break in the last segment, we were showing you of the Whitman Center, which is considered the South Campus for Monroe Community College in Temperance, having a couple of events through 7 to 9 o'clock on Tuesday. Some people who are sharing their experiences coming in of that aftermath. Why is this so important, you think, for, we're going to tell people about Owens Community College also doing some events, but once again we are seeing proof positive of teaching moments and being linked to a school and doing things like this. This isn't the first year the Monroe Community College has done this.
You know, it is the first time they're bringing in the actual timeline from the New York Museum, and it is going to be one of the timelines that at one point they had on the site.
Okay.
As time has changed, what they have had at the site has also changed, and I've been able to see that firsthand taking students every spring. So this was one of the timeline placards that was up in the interim between a museum on the site actually being developed. So it is the first time they've had that there, and some of the guests will be new.
Yeah.
So it is a good idea for them to bring community members in, bring your children, you know, come back. It's a nice way to mark the occasion in honor of people who passed that day, to remember them, and I highly recommend that families visit it.
Man, I was curious, and you look at events like 9/11 and the call to be involved in public service, and have you seen in the last 11 years, I mean, the interest level pick up as far as those who want to be a part of local fire departments, those who want to serve the public?
I don't think we've seen a pickup in that. I think, if anything, it may have waned some. As I said, seeing that on television, seeing those firefighters enter those buildings.
You think it scared people away?
I do think there's a degree of that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me that the last couple of tests that we've given, the turnout hasn't been as heavy. And I think what that moment did, witnessing that on live television, brought it home what firefighters do.
Because you are first responders, first and foremost.
We are, sure. And I wouldn't want to leave out the police officers or the hospital workers or anybody else. But
right.
Our main mission to save lives and protect property was on television that day. Mm-hmm. And the risk that firefighters face day in and day out around the country came to fruition when those buildings came down.
Yeah, Toledo Fire Department not to be left out as far as commemorating 9/11. We'll talk about that in just a moment, Doctor. As we move forward, I want to point out some of the pictures that you brought along. Once again, you have gone above and beyond the call of duty, so to speak, as wanting you see it important as taking your kids, the lessons they're learning, to take them and see firsthand the accounts of which you're detailing to them in a classroom and give them true life experience. You've taken them year after year to New York, see the UN, and see the memorials.
Right. And you know, it's interesting, if there's been less interest in the public safety area, I've seen an increase in interest in international relations. The club has...
How so?
Well, the club started about 2 years after 9/11, and it went from just a few students to just, last year we had 26 active students for a small commuter campus. Mm-hmm. That's a large club. The other thing we've seen is prior to 9/11, in the international relations course, it would limp around from 12 to 15 students. In 2002, the winter after 9/11, it had 29 students and filled for the first time in the history of the course.
And you're talking a total campus of approximately 4,000.
4,000 students. Not only that, but we went from there, from having the international studies class in the club, we began a study abroad program. Mm-hmm. And we are able to go every time. We recruit students. It's expensive. And students have a great interest in the world. I think between the economic issues of globalization and the security issues of 9/11 and potential terrorism, students know that the world is a big place and that they're part of it.
As a political science professor, and you and I talked about this before, I've been struck by the fact that 4 years ago in the presidential election of 2008, we were talking a lot about international affairs, talking a lot about national security, so on and so forth. It's kind of taken a back seat, and you don't hear about it hardly at all. Joe Biden was, Labor Day, he was up in the Detroit area and talked about the bumper sticker moment of GM is alive, Osama bin Laden is dead. That's one moment where you see international affairs coming in, but by and large, it's taken a back seat. How do your students respond to that? I'm sure that's part of the discussion.
Well, I actually use that as part of my teaching, and I'll explain how. One of the things that I try to help students do is see the true roles of the institutions. And I teach them that the president has far more impact on foreign affairs than he does on domestic relations and domestic affairs. Congress really drives that. Even if the president has a program, he has to have members of Congress who put that through. Where he has the executive agreement and many tools in foreign relations where he doesn't need Congress's approval to move forward. It's the president alone that gets to negotiate treaties. So I tell them, when you're choosing a president, that should be first and foremost what you look at. And we use an issue of something controversial, abortion. How much can a president really affect that? And we take the fact that Bush was, a pro-choice or a pro-life president, but that he, even with appointing Supreme Court justices, it had very little effect on that issue, where a president can have an immediate effect on international relations. So I tell the students, be sure you know a candidate's background. What's their expertise in foreign affairs? Do they have a good worldview? Do they have people they can call upon?
Do your students think foreign affairs should be more at the forefront of this election than they are, or is it just, I've had numerous guests here on the show that have been like, this election, economy, it doesn't matter what terrorism talk there is out there.
Well, if they don't think that should be a primary issue in the election when they come in my classroom, they do when they leave.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to do, again, is balance it for them. Yes, the president's going to have an impact on the economy, but he's going to work with Congress on that. But he can have an even greater impact on how we relate to other countries.
You brought up something I want to touch on it when we were looking through those pictures a little bit, and I don't know if we can show more of them. But you said students, by and large, when they hear the audio clips of the 911 calls that were going through that day, what is it for you when you go back again and again that still makes your heart sink and maybe brings a tear to your eye?
I do. I still cry. I think I look back at
and
how
we look at the reflection pool and
and I look at how it's evolved. Standing on the wooden platform with firefighters' badges and flowers and notes, and have you seen me still? The first time I took students was 2002 April. And there were still papers up at that point. Have you seen this person? People still hadn't given up that their loved one was lost. That had a profound impact on me personally. And then to go there every year and watch how the site has evolved, and being anxious sometimes, going, come on, can't we build another building? Let's get something up there. This year, we always go up to the Empire State Building in the evening. And this year, going up there was the first time that there was a tower that beamed from what was once a black hole. And for me, that was just, and I'm crying this year, and the students are going, why are you crying? I said, these are tears of joy, because now there is something there. There's something lit up, and it was so bright because it had construction lights in it. So if you've ever seen what construction light bulbs look hanging up, it made it a huge beacon from the Empire State Building. But in 2002, and I'd been up there prior to 9/11, you went up and you could see the hole that the terrorists had left. And that was the first time I felt angry, because I saw that they defaced us, that you could actually feel the emptiness there.
Matt, this is something coming up on Tuesday. The Toledo Fire Department decided that, well, why don't you tell a little bit about looking at this date and what TFD decided to do?
Obviously, it's an important date to all Americans, but as I said, especially those of us in the fire service. And we see it not only as an opportunity, but an obligation for us to honor the memory of everybody, but again, 343 firefighters. So this station dedication, New Station 6, is an opportunity for us to also commemorate 9/11. And we like to see it as a testament that despite of this attack, despite of the loss of life, we will continue our mission. And quite simply, that mission is to save lives and protect property. So for us, it's a physical presence dedicated on 9/11 to 9/11 and those victims that died.
What exactly? How does the day culminate? How does the day come together as far as doing this dedication?
Well, we'll start. We're going to start the ceremony reflecting on 9/11, and we have some things planned for that, and then it will transition into the station dedication. There are some other smaller events at council chambers that we've been asked to partake in as part of that. So for us, 9/11, we get pulled in many different directions and have many different requests for our presence. So it's a full day.
Yeah.
For those of us.
But this was something that was paramount to the department.
Most definitely. It was important to have that station, and we couldn't think of a better way to commemorate 9/11 than to dedicate a new station.
Yeah.
In honor and memory of those firefighters that died in the line of duty that day, and as a permanent sign of that.
As you go to class this week, and as I go to class, I mean, I always take a pause. We always take a pause here in the newsroom. I remember when the news came down. I remember my news director walking in and reacting to the monitors. But, you know, at that 8:45 moment, at 5 after 9, and as the day unfolds, how do you tailor the education this week?
I actually relive it a little bit with the students. I tell them what I was doing in the classroom, and I ask them the same questions that we pondered as it was unfolding. And it's interesting now, we know way more than we did then. We know, or at least we believe we know who the perpetrators were, and we talk about that and the causes behind that. Why would they want to do this to us, and how could something like this be prevented? I also revisit it in the winter in the international relations class. We show a film series called BioWar. And it has a simulated biological attack, and then we tie that to comparing it to 9/11, and we even compare it to
Let me ask you this: do you see a real maturing of? I mean, you don't want to call it. There's a crust on all of us having gone through this, a toughness, if you will. We build up that toughness. That's what I mean by crust. But do you see a maturing of the students in how they are able to, I guess, verbalize what they believe as far as the learning moment from 9/11?
Yeah, I think what has matured is it's gone from almost a panic fear to a more pragmatic, what do we do to not let this happen again? And it's also more of an anger, and you said like a toughness where no one's ever going to do this to us again. We're that, you know, sure of it.
Do you see that out of your brothers in the fire department? I mean, just kind of build up a sheen?
Not especially.
Yeah.
It's more of a resolve.
Yeah.
It's more of a resolve that instead of weakening, it's strengthening. We are going to do what we're called to do, what our mission is. And while we may suffer that pain, we're going to go on. And as I said, Station 6 dedication is a symbol, is a sign for us, a physical sign for us that we're going to continue no matter what. We're going to do what we have to do no matter what.
Great conversation, both of you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And stay right there. We'll wrap things up for this Sunday right after this.